Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to the second part of yours truly's Priestess of the Goddess, Goddess, yes. Did say priestess and did say goddess. Welcome. First and foremost, want to express a gratitude to the farmers and all involved in the production and the distribution of food, such as this honey, which I'm about to sweeten the coffee and sending some blessings and offering some kisses credited from the goddess because although financially struggling, kisses got by the trillions. Yes, you heard it correctly, trillions. A trillion is 1,000 billion, and a billion is 1,000 million. Kisses got rent is paid, so electricity bill is paid though, and internet is paid. So triple bills, rent being paid, electricity bill being paid, and internet from the month of January. This is the first month of 2023, although wish, say, bless, amen, amen to be the year one ASAP, starting today, if not tomorrow latest, the coming weeks, months, so that it be it. Year one of the return of the forgotten goddess. Oh, forgotten goddess. They say God, God, God. But I ask your God where the goddess is at. You just open your eyes and see the majestic trees are but the hairs on the goddess' body. Thank you, farmers, for this honey. And the bees put in the work getting from those flowers to flowers to flowers. The bees getting the honey from the flowers. Going bzz, 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 bzz. I'm getting and acquiring the transformation of the pollen and the process of the bees harvesting the sweetness from the different flowers. That's why we have variety of honeys, right? Because it can be from different types of flowers that the honey is produced. No honey waste, lick the honey jar. This special vigil this morning, part 2 of the ongoing Trinity triple series this week dedicated to the forgotten goddess. And albeit forgotten, the goddess is and will be. Whether we acknowledge it, and of course, priestess of the goddess applies non-sectarianism, non-dogmatic. So it can be non-sectarian, non-dogmatic, and support the general overall principles of the dancing goddess army, be it the formation of a non-sectarian, non-dogmatic, albeit with principles, International Integrated Dance League or North American Integrated Dance League, to be for pleasure and purpose, for both pleasure and purpose, to be for both pleasure and purpose. The pleasure and purpose of the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, which yours truly is calling all willingly living to support in any way, capacity, shape, or form the formation as the world's greatest living dancer, who today proclaims the word holy, sacred, and divine, Goddess. Is from the spiritual perspective, whether we identify parts or a part, and I being just a piece of dust. I am just a piece of dust. I being just a piece of dust, dancing dust, lusting dust, nonetheless getting moody, getting upset dust, and a piece of dust that will interpret some dreams as we proceed with this meditative vigil. I'm gonna say my gratitude, expressing my gratitude today. for the food which do have leftovers, and thanking the farmers and all those involved in the production and the distribution of food. Food is holy, sacred, and divine, and the motto of the Dancing Goddess Army is that all the fruits, all the vegetables, all the legumes, and all the grains are made, created, and produced by the dance of the goddess with her brother, the sun. All the fruits, all the vegetables, all the legumes are made, created, and produced by the dance of the goddess with her brother, the sun, who now rises and now sets. All of the fruits, all of the vegetables, all of the legumes, all of the grains and the grain are made, created, and produced by the dance of the goddess with her brother, the sun. That our brothers and sisters, farmers, harvest for us to make, upgrade, or maintain civilization. That it requires food. Thank you all those involved in the food security. And know that all allies and armies pledge your allegiance, legions, pledge your allegiance, legions, pledge your allegiance, legions. Who thou offerest, priestess of the goddess, to my willingly loving allies and armies, AAs, I am thy servant. If I can do XYZ service for thy pleasure and purpose, AA, allies and armies, free thou freely, for I am thy servant for pleasure and purpose. So today is a carpe diem at every day. Gonna say a little meditative poem to the forgotten goddess as I call all willingly living to support the aforementioned sacred and divine mission, the creation of the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, aka the North American Integrated Dance League, or the International. But of course, since I operate from this metropolis island, Montreal, aka Hawk, H-A-W-K, Hawk Island, Montreal. So I operate from right here in this big metropolis city surrounded by a big river, which I call Snake River because it looks like a snake from above. And the island kind of looks like a bird would spread wings from above, and had an encounter with hawks on Mount Royal, where the headquarters of the dancing goddess in the Dragon Kingdom is, which is my dream for world peace, which manifests as the dancing goddess and the Dragon Kingdom. And the dancing goddess army is of course a dream for the creation of an international integrated dance league. An integrated dance league which will of course be for both pleasure and purpose. Pleasure of dance, the joy of dance it's not necessarily a competitive integrated league. And integrated, that will be an all gender, all ages, all sexual orientations inclusive, special, multi-purpose institution, a public and a private partnership. Fundamentally, the DGA is to be a public and a private partnership. Fundamentally, the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, the International Integrated Dance League, is fundamentally to be a public and a private partnership. A public, private partnership. That's why I'm calling on all willingly living citizens, institutions and organizations, corporations, in order to support the creation of the Dancing Goddess Army to be for pleasure and purpose. The purpose will be environmental education and action. For example, a concrete example is to encourage citizens to do better composting, to do better recycling. How can we better recycle? Well, we gotta have some knowledge, some wisdom, some understanding, some education to proceed and do it in a more cleaner or safer or environmentally friendly manner. So the educational component is part of it. Education on how better citizens can recycle better, to be aware, to be knowledgeable, more wise in what goes into the compost bin, what doesn't go. And I Do not pretend or pretend that have it 100%. Sometimes do have question on certain items, or if it's clean enough to be put in the compost or in the recycling or vice versa. Because do both compost and recycling. So the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, to be an institution, fundamentally a public and a private partnership, to be for both pleasure and purpose. The purpose, of course, is environmental education and action. Another concrete example is, of course, the education vis-a-vis recycling, or vis-a-vis how we can, of course, reduce XYZ waste, food waste, be it food waste or electricity, right? Although, gonna give a shout out, Priestess, or the goddess, appreciates, thanks, and offers kisses, kisses, hugs, tickles to all workers of the past, present, and the future. Hydro-Quebec, who of course built 63 dams here, utilizing the waters, just holy water of the goddess, the rivers, the lakes, and with brains and with muscle, with brains and with muscle, with brains and with muscle. Priestess Hannah gonna cheerleader the next 7 year do dances cheerleads for the building of another 7 dams. Gonna do the dancing for Hydro Quebec to build another 7 dams. Gonna do the dancing for Hydro Quebec to build another 7 dams in the next 7 years. Thank you, workers of the past. Credit you some millions of kisses, some hugs, and some tickles, because that's what God. Money don't. In debt. Paying for the first brick of the goddess. Will you support the initiative to build a goddess temple? Has to be, can be non-sectarian, non-dogmatic. A temple dedicated to the forgotten goddess. That's what I want to build. Others have their temples, have their places of worship. The goddess still has in some places, still is in some people. The word goddess is on the lips of some people, such as yours truly, Priestess, HNNH, Priestess Hannah, dancing, dancing like a drama for that la la. Gonna sing it for the goddess, gonna drink some black coffee with that golden honey, with the golden rays of the sun, dancing for the stars, yep, for that humanity, for nature and civilization. For the dancing goddess army's purpose is, of course, will be to attain harmony, equilibrium, and balance between nature and civilization with joy. Joy, the pleasure of dancing. Dancing is my favorite sport. I feel the music. I sometimes do channel, although as a piece of dust that I am admit with moody lust. Not perfect, can be toxic to some people, can be toxic. Dealt with own toxic, own venom and own poison. I dealt with own poison and own venom and own toxic. I have dealt with my own poison. I have dealt with my own toxic. I have dealt with my own venom and the poison and the toxins. Indeed, healing is a process. Sometimes it can take years, an ongoing process. But we sometimes we heal and we also change and transform. Change and transform. Change and transform. It can be painful to accept some new energies, some new forces. For example, the LGBTQ liberation, which is love, urges, love impulses, LOV, in their different shapes of forms. And lust and love can be an intermixture, can be a balance, a harmony. Sometimes more love, more lust, more play, more purpose, more business, more purpose, more purpose, sometimes more pleasure at different times. Now doing this video and this meditation on the second part, saying the word goddess, Goddess, and being a piece of dust in the majestic, powerful dominion of the goddess who dances with her brother the sun. If my goddess dances with her brother the sun, then I am a piece of dust. A tiny, tiny, tiny piece of dust. With a will, with a desire, with love, with a psychological dimension, with a willing nature, with a desire, with creativity, with stress, with pain, with hopes, with struggles, with all of the human being been through suffering and depression, have conquered depression, have conquered depression, have conquered depression with the dance of the goddess. And we're realizing or acknowledging, admitting that do have certain lusts, certain impulses, do have a desire and a will and a craving for receiving pleasure, but also giving others pleasure in whatever shape or form. Right? Dancing, massaging, kissing, washing feet, whatever, whatever way. Cooking, tickling, hugging. To my allies and armies, pledge your allegiance. By all the aforementioned plus whatever you can think of with consent, and principles that harm none, I do dance best. So that is numero uno, number one, that I dance for the goddess. Dance for the goddess, dance for the goddess. For the forgotten goddess, who still dances with her brother the sun to make, create, and produce all the fruits, all the vegetables, all the legumes, all the grain that our brothers and sisters farmers harvest. Thank you, farmers. Truckers, thank you. Butchers, bakers, railways, all those workers of the city who snow removal operations. Thank you to those all involved in the production and the distribution of food, to the nurses, to the doctors, and the DGA Dancing Goddess Army can play an integrated role to organize dancing events. My dream is to organize dancing events dedicated to specific workers as an independent athlete, universal spiritual teaching student who learns every day, to organize dancing for the nurses, for the doctors, for healthcare, for the farmers, the dance for the farmers, dance for Hydro-Quebec, dance for, of course, public workers, dance for school teachers, have my own propositions for school curriculum reform or surrounding the complex North American civilization or the collective North American civilization. And of course do speak French and love French, create poetry and art and philosophy in French, as I did in a video yesterday, part 1. We can sing a little song right now in French. Ready to rock and roll. Avec une tasse de café, le français je l'ai pas oublié, et la déesse oubliée, la belle province. Ah oui, dansez-moi, dansez un peu, comme un jeu, avec consentement, un câlin. Donnez-vous, faites comme un dessin. Et les aigles, ça s'élance, et on danse. I'm of course not Celine Dion, but calling on my sister Celine Dion to support the Dancing Goddess Army, and as just saw that can write songs, can channel songs, and from the forgotten goddesses I've just did, and we'll do another rock and roll song right now. As I drink this black coffee, I look at the goddess so can see. I say G-O-D-D-S, goddess blessed. With her kisses with her rocks. We do some push-ups on her arm. Do some push-ups and some squats. Do that dance and do the trance. Enter when you go it. Like the storm and in the rainbow. Hey, that's a shoot and that's a goal. For a rock and roll. Rock and roll it for the goddess. You rock and roll it for the goddess. Wait, they say God, I gotta balance it. And yes, we can switch it, we can wrap it. Cheers. So the dream for the Dancing Goddess Army, the DGA of yours truly, Priestess of the Goddess, saying G-O-D-D-E-S-S. Clap, clap for the DGA, the Dancing Goddess is, of course, the dream which I have, and I had a dream, part of one dream to the Dancing Goddess in the Dragon Kingdom, the world peace dream, to have the Dancing Goddess Army to organize dances and to be for purpose and pleasure, for environmental education, and also appreciation, dances for appreciation of nature and civilization, for clean energy, for solar power, for hydro, like Hydro Quebec here, that I'm doing a meditation now to be mindful of all my fellow citizens from La Belle Province, Quebec, who are of course now maintaining electricity, doing the maintenance, maybe on the ground, maybe up, some security, some risk, blessing them, being mindful that with brains and muscle and brains and muscle and muscle and brains is required and has been required for us to build, maintain, or upgrade civilization. To build, upgrade, or maintain civilization. Brains and muscle is required, has been and will be required for us to upgrade civilization with new fresh ideas and new institutions and organizations such as the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, to be a public and a private partnership that I'm calling all to support in any way, shape, capacity, or form by the creation of the International Integrated Dance League, or the North American Integrated Dance League, since of course being a Quebecer Canadian North American who has lived in many past lives, many incarnations, and even was incarnated in a past life, was born right here on this island in past lives and round about from ancient Egypt, ancient Sumeria, ancient Babylon, ancient India, by the Danube, ancient Rome, until today. Let us make it year one of the goddess, and calling all to support. The building doesn't have to be big. It's 156 square meters. What is 156 square meters? What is 156 square meters? Well, it will be like a circle, a circular, circle-like temple for the forgotten goddess. Will you support the building of a temple dedicated? Doesn't have to be specific names, and the goddess forgotten has many, many, many names. Not worthy enough, still gotta take 77 baths to pronounce, utter, say a letter of the holy name of the goddess, lest this speak of dust. I be turned upon, I be turned upon, 'cause she dances with her brother son. Just a temple, temple of the forgotten goddess, or forgotten goddess temple. 3 words. Forgotten goddess temple, forgotten goddess temple. And inside with poetry said that this temple is dedicated to the forgotten goddess of many names, the goddess who dances with her brother the sun. And inside the temple I envision, of course, lots of color, lots of shades of green, children dancing, a rainbow, People of all the colors, black and white pillars, pillars white and black, and green, and lots of green, shades of green, and golden, and stars, and pictures representing both nature and civilization, and people doing dances, people dancing, dancing on the walls of the temple, and hugging and kissing and holding hands. The main expression, people holding hands, people dancing, people kissing, people holding hands, people dancing. The temple of the goddess, of the forgotten goddess. That's why I will to see. Will you support it right here in Mount Royal, in Hakala, Montreal, Quebec, Canada, North America. The temple of the forgotten goddess. Poetry and priestesses offer poetry, music, dance, 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 and different services. Different services. Whatever those services with consent and hygiene, whether cooking or dancing or whatever it is. Consent and hygiene. Consent and hygiene, consent and hygiene. Kissing, hugging, hugging, hugging. With consent, give yourselves a hug. H-U-G, H-U-G, H-U-G. Like you never hugged before is the main message from the goddess to all willingly loving allies and armies and others in a non-sectarian, non-dogmatic manner to be understood fully is that the DJ, of course, although on the principles, and the principles are to be for pleasure and purpose, to organize dancing events for causes of the environment, environmental causes, and for education, educating citizens, being immersed and integrated and organizing different events, dance events, and organizing an event such as encouraging citizens of all ages to go see, for example, how the recycling is being done. Where did that big truck go? Comes every week. Brains and muscle, muscle and brains, brains and muscle. Fellow citizens, load the trucks. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Pick up the recycling every week. Imagine all the recycling in the big metropolises such as Montreal, aka Hawk Island. It's 2.5 million people. Second biggest city in Canada after Toronto. And all the other big metropolises of the collective North American civilization. So organize a dance for public utility workers to honor them, to celebrate those city workers of the sanitation who pick up the garbage, pick up the compost, the farmers, the butchers, the truckers, the railway workers, to show love and appreciation to them. To the farmers, butchers, bakers, nurses, doctors, grocery store clerks, now packing, preparing food, all those working in fast food even now, preparing a sandwich, preparing a hamburger, a salad, fries, coffee, across the collective North American civilization. From Quebec, Montreal, big 2.5 million people, to all Canada, US, Mexico, which constitutes the complex of North American civilization, or the collective North American civilization. Thank you to all involved, the production and distribution of food, organize a dance for the farmers and the truckers of North America. A dance for the truckers of North America. Thank you, love you, kiss you. Truckers now. Brains and muscle. Transporting tens of thousands of tons of potatoes, tens of tons of maybe jars of honey, carrots, sugar, milk, eggs. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Appreciate you. I love you. Can offer. Can be a non-dogmatic, non-sectarian, non-dogmatic and non-sectarian. But we're also the principles of action, philosophy, theory, spirituality, yes, but counterbalanced with some action, some action. Dancing is a sport, is an action. Kissing, consent and hygiene, honestly. Hugging, massaging. Could actually use a massage now. Well, can't afford it, but grateful that I can take a bath and can immerse in water. So we'll have to subtract one, so we'll have to do 77 baths. But if I take a bath today, it will be 76 baths. And then I can say another letter of the holy goddess name who dances with her brother sun and who wants nature and civilization and nature to be in harmony, equilibrium, and balance. And for us to have joy and pleasure and purpose. Purpose of civilization to be in harmony with nature and purpose, joy, purpose of civilization, pleasure and joy and pleasure not are not contradictions, are not conflictual. They can be complementary and cooperative, as the dream of the dancing goddess army, Priestess Hana's dancing goddess army is more cooperative than competitive. Sure, there can be different competitions, but generally, overall, fundamentally, a more cooperative institution, which is to be a public and a private partnership, integrated and in partnership with all institutions, organizations, public and private, across the collective North American civilization, the complex North American civilization first and foremost, and beyond, with corporations, with small business, with big business, with medium-sized businesses, with citizens, with governments, municipalities, to be a public and a private partnership. The DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, who's gonna help to lay the first brick. Lay the first brick. Whoever goes for the first brick gonna credit you 1,000,000 kisses. This kiss has got some brains and some muscle. The Dancing Goddess Army, the International Integrated Dance League, or the North American Integrated Dance League. That's why I don't call it a heart to my brothers in the NFL, National Football League. Please triple the cheerleader salaries, NFL. Starting tonight, tomorrow, ASAP. Please triple the cheerleader salaries. Please, please, please. NFL, triple the cheerleader salaries, please. And calling on my brothers, let's be honest, patriarchal sports leagues. There's not even one women's sports leagues. And women's basketball, wow. Wish I was that tall and played ball, but I can dance. Wish I was that tall, I could play some ball, but I can dance. Wish I was that tall so I can ball, but I can dance. I can dance. And there's not even one women's sports league, which makes even close financially. financially. To what the aforementioned patriarchal sports leagues of the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, or MLB. Not even close. Not even close. My brothers, please. If I have a million, or a billion, or a trillion, kisses trillions got, but I'm financially struggling at the moment, but I'm a great dancer, the world's greatest dancer, and some brains and some muscle, universal spiritual teaching student, who proudly utters, says, chants the word, holy, sacred, and divine, Goddess, please. All players and all owners of the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association. Please mass finance ASAP, starting tonight, tomorrow, food security. Give 10%. Give 1% to the DGA. 1%. 1%, IO. 1% of 100 is 1. Of 1,000 is 10. 10,000 is 100. Right? Of 100,000 is 1,000. Of a million is 10,000. 1%. Some make millions. Average NBA is the highest. And please, 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 mass finance and give, starting tonight, tomorrow, ASAP, to women's sports leagues. Mass finance, women's basketball, women's hockey, women's soccer. You don't need another house. You got 7 houses. You got 7 cars. You got 7 houses, 7 cars. My brothers in the NFL, National Football League, NHL, National Hockey League, NBA, National Basketball Association, MLB. Love the sports. Love hockey. Love basketball. Love football. Gridiron. Triple the cheerleaders' salaries. But please, economically, financially, commercially, give a percentage for food security and for women's sports leagues, LGBTQ youth issues, services, and for environmental. And all CEOs as well, for multi-millionaires, multi-billionaires. A call of the heart, and help finance the temple of the forgotten goddess. I have priestesses, myself included, to lead dances and to, with consent and hygiene, to offer some services and to integrate with ecological institutions and organizations to work and educate on all matters of ecological concerns, such as how we can better recycle, how we can better compost, on the individual citizen level, on the individual collective level. So DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, to be fundamentally, in essence and generally, for pleasure and purpose, the purpose of attaining harmony between nature and civilization, between nature and civilization. That is the fundamental main purpose of the DGA, to attain harmony between nature and civilization by some action, and then to organize dances, of course, for celebrating and acknowledgement and dedication to different organizations or different industries, such as fishery, and of course, such as production of food, transportation, and so on. A dance for the farmers, a dance for the truckers, a dance for the butchers, a dance for the bakers, a dance for the nurses, a dance for the doctors, another dance for the teachers, another dance for city workers, another dance for construction workers, another dance for public utility workers, such as those of Hydro Quebec, another for public security services, another for firefighters, dance for the firefighters with some fire and some water, dance for the firefighters, a dance for sectors of the economy, a dance for science, a dance for physical education, for schools, a dance for cleaning workers, a dance for sanitation workers, a dance for warehouse workers, a dance for dock workers, a dance for different workers, a dance for general workers, a dance for office clerks, a dance for those delivering the mail, for the post citizens, that deliver the mail, the post workers, the post office, dance for those on the phones, answering the phones, for reception work, dance, 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 for pleasure and purpose, and for acknowledgement of all things that make our civilization, of maintenance, and hopefully to upgrade civilization. And with one temple, doesn't have to be super big, like that Pope in the Vatican. It's got a big place. It could be something 156 square meters, 156 square meters, or something like that, in a circular manner, maybe like in a circle and a pyramid type, dedicated temple to the forgotten goddess, be the headquarters of the dancing goddess army of the DGA. That's the dream, as I say the word goddess today. Goddess, Goddess. Chant me, dear me, hug me to relieve the stress. Goddess, hug me, kiss me, tickle me to relieve the stress. Goddess, hug me, tickle me, kiss me to relieve the stress. To relieve the stress. I think I'll take another bath, and after I take those 77 baths, maybe I'll say the first letter of one of her sacred many accountable names. To the forgotten goddess. So the dream of the DGA Dancing Goddess Army, officially or official name to be the North American Integrated Dance League or the National Integrated Dance League, since like the NHL, National Hockey League, is really binational, Canada, US. It's not really a national, right? It's not only USA or Canada, the NHL or the NBA for that matter, National Basketball Association. It's not really national. It's really binational. It's really North American. Although NFL is national, you have the CFL, but of course to be integrated across North America, first and foremost, fundamentally, Quebec, Canada, US joint, and Mexico, North American collective, and of course to be, of course, for world, as I am advocating for world peace, but fundamentally, in essence, from here, from Montreal, 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 aka HAWK, hog, hog, hog like a hog. Gonna do a dance for the flora and a dance for the fauna. The flora is, of course, the legumes, the vegetables, the flowers, the trees, right? And the fauna is, of course, the animals. Fauna represents the animals, the birds, the hawks, the crows. A dance for the beautiful black crows. A dance for the beautiful black crows. A dance for the beautiful black crows and the golden hawk and the red cardinals. A dance for the birds. A dance for all the animals. Dance for the dogs. Dance for the lions. Lions, dance for the snakes. A dance for the flora and a dance for the fauna, and vice versa. A dance for the flora and the fauna, and vice versa. A dance for the flora and the fauna, and vice versa. Priestess, huh? Does a dance for the flora and the fauna, and vice versa. Priestess Hannah does a dance for the flora and the fauna, and vice versa. Priestess Hannah does a dance for the flora and the fauna, and vice versa. As I say, goddess, do they like it? Goddess. To the forgotten goddess, who dances with her brother son. Non-sectarian, non-dogmatic, but based on principles. You can support XYZ, a dance for the truckers. If you're a trucker, you say, hey, I'm not with the goddess, but no mean no harm, but I appreciate the dance. It can be fine. It's dance, because you transport all the food, and the groceries, and the eggs, and the butter, 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 and those unloading and loading the trucks, the warehouse workers, the dock workers, the ship workers, the railway conductors, train conductors, those dance for the train trains, well, the workers who work in the trains, on the railways. How many trains are going east, west, north, south now? There's trains, passenger trains. Let's do send some love and meditation to all those trains going now. Passengers, train conductors, and the freight train, cargo train. There's potatoes maybe on them, milk maybe, wheat, grains going east, west, or north, south. Maybe train from Mexico to Canada, Canada to Mexico all the way, with avocados or other goods, clothing maybe, or maybe other goods, maybe materials, XYZ, 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 to build and maintain civilization, supply chains, a dance for the supply chains, a dance for security of the collective North American civilization, aka the complex North American civilization, as of course being a philosopher, their own theory of the complex of North American civilization, and the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, to be first and foremost for the rebirth, if you will, the ensurety of liberty, justice, and sharing of prosperity, and attaining harmony between civilization and nature in and of the complex of North American civilization, aka the North American civilizational complex, of which yours truly from Hawk Island, Montreal, from Quebec, Canada, North America is part of. Priestess of the Goddess from North America, wishing world peace, and to channel the aggression by push-ups and hugs. Channel the aggression by push-ups and some hugs. To channel the aggression by push-ups and some hugs. Who will help lay the first brick of the temple of the forgotten goddess? Forgotten goddess. So the DGA to be non-sectarian, non-dogmatic, but based on principles. Principles of pleasure and purpose. To dance and more cooperative dances and integrated. You can have professional dancing in a certain segment of the DGA or the integrated to be consecrated priestesses, dancers, official high dancers, the prime dancing league, and everybody can dance. Can you just dance like this? Or just applaud? Integrated dance league. More cooperative for pleasure and purpose and for the environment, and to, of course, appreciate all the things which we have as a civilization. Organize dances for XYZ factors of our civilization. Dancing, a dance organized, a dance for the farmers, a dance for the truckers, a dance for the butchers, a dance for the bakers, a dance for the nurses, a dance for the doctors, a dance for the firefighters, a dance for the public security workers, a dance for citizens, a dance for students, a dance for nurses, a dance for teachers, a dance for sanitation workers, a dance for city workers, a dance for those who pick up the garbage every week, the compost every week, public utility workers, then a dance for the highways, a dance for the train conductors, a dance for all those who work on the railways, a dance for the public transit workers, bus drivers, a dance for the bus drivers, a dance for all different parts of our civilization, whether it be for nurses, for doctors, for office workers, for cooks, for those involved in the preparation and distribution of food, for IT workers. IT workers dance for IT. 010101 dance for the IT workers. a dance for high school, a dance for daycare workers, a dance for daycare workers, a dance for daycare workers. Dancing Goddess Army, the International Integrated Dance League. That is the call to all to be a public and a private partnership, PPP, public private partnership, integrated with all institutions, organizations, small business, medium business working together, big business, corporations. These CEOs already increased during COVID the salaries and the benefits. Please give 10% ASAP, tonight, tomorrow, for food security. Because everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. Thank you, farmers. Everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. Thank you, farmers, because everybody gotta eat, even Wall Street. A dance for science, a dance for art, a dance for the forgotten goddess, a dance for pleasure, and a dance for purpose. That is the dream. Dancing as a sports league for pleasure and purpose. That is Priestess of the forgotten goddess. Hannah. Priestess Hannah. Priestess Hannah. Priestess Hannah. To the goddess, come ya. Love ya. Love ya, love ya. And now we're going to delve into a little bit of a run for interpretation of dreams. Ooh. From a spiritual, psychological, subconscious dimension. So, a dream, had many dreams like my dream to create institutionalize as a public-private partnership the DGA, the Dancing Goddess Army, the International Integrated Dance League, aka the Dancing Goddess Army, aka the North American Integrated Dance League, the DGA, Dancing Goddess Army, to be a public and a private partnership, and of course to be for pleasure and purpose, like the aforementioned little discourse, little lecture, little introduction via oral communication and discourse and dialogue that yours truly has transmitted. And now we're gonna dwell into some subconscious, more mystic, psychological as well, because there are components interconnected. Interpretation of dreams. We're gonna go maybe a third Freudian, a third Jungian, a third Crowleyan, with a four-dimension priestess, Hana of the goddess, original. So we have dreams. Sometimes we remember dreams more than others. Sometimes we wake up is what the did I just dream about? Well, you can remember some parts of the dream, and sometimes it's so irrational because we have the irrational, the emotional side, which is part of us, which has to be sometimes brought into light and acknowledged and admitted. Just like 2 plus 2 does equal 4, yes, 2 plus 2 does equal 4, yes. 2 plus 2 does equal 4. Build me some satellites for the DGA. My astro brother Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Sheryl Sandberg, must. It's for the DGA, pleasure and purpose, blah, 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 blah. But we have the irrational emotional side. Sometimes it's hard to deal, to admit it, the jealousies, the envies, the subconscious elements, the biases, which we have, and myself included, have some biases, we have, right? Subconscious elements or experience, whether from deep past or even myself as a universal spiritual teaching student from past lives, past incarnations, right? They were priestesses of the goddess, right? Priestesses of the goddess. And there's a lot of things which are mistranslated or lost in translation from our Western civilization spirituality, or the development and the change and some the catastrophes, the tragedies, all the occurrences, right? So 2 plus 2 does equal 4. But that doesn't mean we have to write 2 plus 2 in only black, or only white, or only green, or only white, or only red, or only rainbow, or only green. Myself write 2 plus 2 in all the colors of the rainbow, plus the black and the white. So the first two I can write it in green. The plus I can write one line black, the other white. The other two I can write it in red if I wrote the first one in green. Then the equal sign again, one black line, one white line, and then the 4 I can write it in purple, orange, and of course pink, violet. So I can incorporate 7 colors of the rainbow plus the black and the white in that equation, meaning that yes, 2 plus 2 equals 4, and we have the science and the irrationality, and they can work together. But we also have the subconscious, the spiritual, the feeling part, which has to be acknowledged and doesn't necessarily have to be in conflict or contradiction, or conflictual contradiction. It can be complementary. Just like when I say goddess, if you say God, 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 there's also that spiritual equation is not fully complete. The equation is not complete. The spiritual equation is not complete. And we have biases, we have, myself included. We can check our own little emotions and subconscious, and when we feel XYZ inferior at certain things, I feel myself inferior at certain things. I am average at some things. I am so-so at other things. I am mediocre at some things. I admit it, being mediocre at some things, average at others, so-so at others. That I'm great, super and excellent at dancing, philosophy, spirituality, poetry, and chants. And dancing, I'm the best dancer. But I'm mediocre at some things. I'm average at others, so-so at some other things, while being super excellent and great at some other things. So we complement, we balance, we work together in different shapes of form. But we have the irrational, we have the subconscious, and sometimes they're manifest in dreams, which are so, wow, what did I just dream? And then we try to analyze them. So they have a spiritual component, or they have, if you want to say, a mystic component, occult component, or they can have a yearning of our desires, what we will to do, whether to love, whether to do, whether to eat some things, right? We have some dreams of eating something, like, what did I just dream of eating? What was that? Or it can be subconscious hidden fears. It can be subconscious hidden fears. It can be subconscious hidden fears. Like somebody who is 6'6", 360 pounds, and he spent 13 years in the NFL, survived 2 concussions, yet he comes in the temple of the Priestess, unaware the spiders are holy, and he starts screaming and running out of the temple. Irrational. He's 6'6", 360 pounds, 13 years in the NFL, Pro Bowler, 3 concussions survived, yet he runs from a spider tiny. It's very irrational. So he's 6'6", spent 13 years in the NFL, survived 3 concussions, or a Pro Bowler, 360 pounds, yet comes in the temple of the Priestess. There's a tiny spider, he runs. So that's irrational to be afraid of a tiny spider. But we have certain fears, right? It can happen in relationships, it can happen. And please, please, please try to minimize gossip. Try to minimize gossip. Try to minimize gossip. And be constructive criticism. Offer alternative solutions. Offer alternative solutions. Offer alternative solutions. Give, receive, and give. Give, receive, and give. Kisses got to give. Hugs got to give. Dances got to give. Tickles got to give. Tickles, hugs, kisses, dancing, and poetry and chants. Some brain and some muscle got to give. Myself, priestess of the goddess, got to give. The aforementioned. I can cook, I can clean. As a matter of fact, I got a vacuum the room off some temple also. Gotta write some more emails, gotta do this and that. So the dreams can be very irrational, very all over the place. The dialogue, sometimes we don't remember the dialogue. A specific dream which had was was I'm not sure that was giving a lecture or there was a lecture. There seems to be that several people were giving a sort of a lecture. It was like in a university setting. And there was a dialogue about the clothing that myself was wearing and that somebody else was wearing, but it wasn't a fashion show. So this was the dream. So it was a university type of lecture because there was sort of chairs, almost desks. It was a university type of environment, a scholarly, academic, in scholarly, academic type of setting, the university type of setting, and there started lectures going on. Different, seems like there were different people coming in and out. So maybe it was like a whole day, sort of like a conference, maybe a conference. I'm not sure 100%, but it seemed either it was academic for sure in nature that I can got the feel from the dream because there was desks, there was chairs, there was books, and there were different people of different stage, but mostly an adult setting, so mostly adults, from what I can tell from my dream. Young adults, millennials, but there were some more seniors other than millennials, senior citizens, because they were kind of lecturing. So there were several lectures, and I remember something about the different attire. Somebody was dressed like in a suit, like very, very classy, very almost expensive, very expensive type of suit, type of neck and tie, and I was kind of wearing more urban type of clothing, and I wore my favorite scarf, the rainbow scarf, which I have a rainbow scarf. This scarf, which I'm auctioning for 1 million. So I had that scarf, and there was a commentary made. The commentary, you don't know what was exactly, but from the subconscious level, it was a more, not necessarily a positive, but the feel of it, it was kind of ambiguous, and that's the mystery of it. And I think this dream was to men that we also sometimes assume, right? Because we assume every day, we assume X, Y, Z. So many things I don't know myself. So many things I don't know. Yes, I admit I have been toxic to some people. I have toxicity in myself. I work out, I train, I exercise. I want to give pleasure and receive pleasure. I'm also grateful that my rent is fully paid. Also grateful that my electricity bill is fully paid. Also grateful that my rent's fully paid, my electricity is fully paid, my internet, half of the bill is paid. To my allies and armies, pledge your legions with consent. Yes, sometimes I rap nasty names and call and get angry and moody, upset. To my AA allies and armies, pledge your legions for therapy purpose. Could let you, with consent, call me names for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, half an hour. You. As we get angry, we get moody. Is channeling and sublimating. Two key words of my philosophy. Mystic, spiritual, and psychological philosophies. Two key words. Channeling and sublimating into constructive activities. Two key words of my philosophy. Channeling and sublimating into constructive activities. Whether it's anger or moodiness or sexuality, sexual impulses. Not repressed, because repressed will make us sickle and diseased. Whatever fantasy or with consent and hygiene fulfill. Myself love some BDSM switch. Myself love some BDSM switch. With consent and hygiene, myself love some BDSM switch. Right? But nonetheless, this dream was so irrational, so aberrant, almost like an aberration. And yet there were some more clear parts of it. So the more clear parts of it, which do remember, was the dialogue about in that academic scholarly setting, university type setting. The discussion was about revolving around the attire, the clothing, the garments. And one person was really well dressed, almost a very expensive suit. In contrast to my more urban type, although I have one suit which is more expensive, but bought it secondhand, 20 bucks. Bought it secondhand, 20 bucks. But I do have a suit, but I wasn't wearing it. So I have a suit. But it was a comment about my scarf, and it was ambiguous because even in the dream, do remember that what was the commentary? It was me dwelling on and trying to dwell. Did he mean it in a bad way? Did he mean it in a good way? Or somewhere in between? A little of each, or more neutral? Because we have shades, right? Shades of gray, shades of gray, shades of gray. We have the black and the white, and we have the gray, and then we have the rainbow, right? It's not always right, left, or center. Sometimes center right, center left, center up, and there's more to it sometimes, right? And that was the beauty of it, in a way, paradoxical way. That was kind of, now that I'm analyzing it, it's kind of to say that we assume a lot. We assume a lot. We assume a lot. So many things we assume. We project. We project upon others our own hidden fears, our own hidden lusts, hidden lusts, hidden lusts. There's so many who are not out of the closet. Myself, it's more than 7 years now that I'm out of the closet, being, of course, pansexual, loving BDSM switch. But there's so many in the NFL, National Football League. It's not only Kal Nassib. In the NHL, there are. In the NBA, there are. In the MLB, right? Nonetheless. So that dream was to meant to see if we assume ambiguous. So sometimes we assume the worst. Most we have tendencies, right, to say so. Because the comment on the scarf that was made in the dream was a bit ambiguous, was left to me assuming, and during the dream kind of assumed, was it because it's rainbow, was it kind of like homophobic or kind of anti-LGBTQ, in kind of denigrating my fellow LGBTQ community? Was it that? Was it that? So I say maybe not, maybe not. So, but it's irrational, it's subconscious, also the assumptions, but we have it in us, and then it gives us emotion, it triggers us emotions, gives us feelings and emotions. So maybe tonight we'll dream the part two of it, and we'll be more clear. We'll have more understanding, wisdom, and knowledge, and maybe we'll dream part two tonight, and we'll recount it tomorrow morning to the DGA. To the DGA.